What's up, guys? This is Adam Gillespie with Rancid and Sweaty Calves coming at you with yet another video. Today I'll be reacting to quite possibly one of the most lackadaisical and uninteresting commercials to grace our eyes, or shall I say poison our minds, since probably The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, or TROS as people refer to it most commonly nowadays because it's such garbage. So, in case you guys are unaware, Amazon has bought some of the rights to Lord of the Rings, which means they can take what was in the appendices of the Lord of the Rings books and make content off of that, which is basically like 150 pages or something like that of just stuff that was left out of the main story that could have been told another time or could have been expanded upon in a prequel book or a prequel series. It really wasn't all that important to the main story. We got some information as to how Sauron rose, how the Rings of Power were created, how Sauron created the main Ring of Power, how he was able to seduce the elven forgers who made the rings in the first place. Basically, we just got a little bit more information in the appendices on how Sauron rose to power and what happened in, I think, the first or second age. And it kind of leaves out a lot of stuff, in the main story. It's literally only like 150 pages. It's not that long. It's not that big a deal. But they're making a series off of it. It's going to take five seasons. At least they're locked in for 5 seasons, as I believe the deal is. They've been locked in for 5 seasons. And, yeah, basically they're going to take about 3,500 years of information, and they're going to cram it down into 5 seasons, and probably make it really woke and really garbage. Let's start the video. I'm sure you guys are wanting to see it just as much as I am. Actually, I'm not, but whatever, let's go. I hate that smirk.
Haven't you ever wondered?
Okay, so I have no idea who's talking right now. No idea. We get some lackadaisical CGI work here. Kind of looks like something out of The Hobbit, which, in case you don't know, The Hobbit was a series of movies that were not necessarily enjoyed by Tolkien fans, if we're going to be honest with ourselves. Because it took one book and split it into 3 parts and dragged out everything. Dragged out the Battle of the Five Armies, dragged out the Desolation of Smaug, dragged out what happened in, I forget the town's name, that small town on the water. It dragged out so much of what happened in that book. It really should have just been 1 movie or 2 movies at most, but not 3 movies. I think it was a desperation or a desperate attempt to make it seem like, oh, it's the Lord of the Rings! Lord of the Rings is back, everyone! Lord of the Rings! Now, I like those movies a little bit more than some other people, but not necessarily peak Lord of the Rings, okay? But let's move on.
What else is out there?
So, I guess they're asking, what else is out there? My guess is that's probably going to be like a Hobbit. Probably some female Hobbit or transgender Hobbit, because this is Amazon and they're going to take everything that is good and turn it to wokeness. Let's just move on.
There's wonders in this world.
There's wonders in this world. So, I'm a little confused as to what those are. I can't really make them out. Some sort of winged creatures with walking sticks. It's hard to see what those actually are. Yeah, yep, that's the Hobbit. Female Hobbit, who's probably going to be the main Hobbit of the story. And I can't wait till they introduce like the Black Hobbits and the Hispanic Hobbits and the other Hobbits of diverse color. It's so interesting. It's so interesting to me that we never saw a single Hobbit of color in the original Lord of the Rings movies or the Hobbit movies. It just kind of begs the question, when is the Hobbit Holocaust going to take place? When is there going to be a Hobbit genocide, right? Because if this takes place 3,000 years before the main story, that leaves you 3,000 years where the Hobbits, the Hobbits could go through a genocide. That leaves you a lot of time where the Hobbits could have completely destroyed an ethnicity, specifically because of their skin color. Look, all you had to do was just stay true to what was in the books and the original movies. That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do, and they've already started changing it. But let's move on. Does anyone get some Schmeagol vibes from that? Does anyone get some Schmeagol vibes from that? I can feel it. Alright, before the king. Alright, because we got to make sure that we distance ourselves from the male roles of the original story, right? Waterfall. Okay, so that looks like a really crappy CGI glove with some really crappy CGI ice with a really crappy CGI dagger. Okay, so that's probably gonna be what's her name? It's not Elrond, that's the man. That's the male character. Galadriel. Yeah, it's probably gonna be Galadriel. Because she's supposed to be a really strong female warrior. Yeah, because that's all that people want to see when they think about Lord of the Rings. Everyone who thinks about Lord of the Rings clearly is always thinking about Galadriel and all the other female characters who sit on the sidelines. No, people want to see dudes in armor and fighting and warriors and kings and nations battling against evil. That's what people like when they think about Lord of the Rings. It's not, oh, what can I relate to this person if they have the right kind of genitalia? Or, oh, can I relate to this person if they have the right kind of skin color? No, it's can I relate to these people based off of their moral compass, based off of their drive, based off of their ability to understand the difference between good and evil, and their desire to keep peace along Middle Earth. That's what people think about when they think about Lord of the Rings. In case you don't know, I already know about what's going on with Amazon's Lord of the Rings movie, TV show, and it's not looking good. It really isn't. Let's just move on. For the Fellowship, again, we have to distance ourselves. We have to make sure that everyone knows that this isn't part of the main story. That this is just a prequel. Oh, yes, this is the Black Elf. Yep. So we got a Black Elf too, in case you guys didn't remember. In every piece of content before this, all the elves were white. And if you look in the actual description that Tolkien gives of what elves look like, he describes them as fair-skinned, tall, and slim. That's their definition. That's the definition of elves. Fair-skinned, tall, and thin. In case you don't know, fair-skinned in early England, in the time that he wrote the books, meant white. Like white as snow, like Snow White. I guess they don't really care about that anymore either, because Snow White's going to be black too. This is the problem I have with modern media, is they insist on taking things that are already created, that have already stood the test of time, that already have merits built up, and instead of actually making something that could compete with those things, they take the things that are already made and they change them to fit their desired agenda. And that's what they're doing here. As soon as you see the Black Elf, you know it's not necessarily because they want to tell a story that's interesting. They want to include diversity. That's all it is. When they focus on two female characters right in the start, and then they throw in a Black Elf instead of showing something like Elrond, right? Maybe we should see a little bit of Elrond's journey, huh? Anyone think of that, huh? Why not? Let's do that. But no, it's just screw that. Let's just move on from that. No, we got to show the Black Elf because that's what's important. It's not. It's not. There's never a Black Elf in any of the other stuff. Not saying that there couldn't be, but if you look at the definition of what an elf was in Tolkien's original writings, as a race, as a species, he described all elves as tall, white, fair-skinned, and slim. He described them as fair-skinned, tall, and slim. I can't get any more specific about what he says than that. It is tall, fair-skinned, and slim. That is what an elf looks like. Not this. An elf does not look black. A black elf does not exist within the ranks of the elves, not because of some sort of racism, but because the description of the entire race of the beings of elves, which are supposed to kind of represent angels in Tolkien's original works, are fair-skinned, tall, and slim. They're also lighter than humans, because of some characteristics and a character attribute, whatever it is. I'm looking for the word. In any case, let's move on. I'm seriously on the fence about this whole thing. For the Ring. I can't wait for Sauron's older sister, who's going to be created in this story, to actually come up with the Rings of Power idea, and for him to actually just steal it away from her. Because we all know that women are the brains of the operation in every situation, right? But wait a second, if you were to do that, wouldn't you have to admit that you can have female characters who are evil? Nah, they probably wouldn't allow that. So Sauron might come out of this unscathed, but they are probably going to make him afraid of Galadriel. Anyway, oh goodness, I cannot wait for this movie to suck. Let's just move on. I mean, seriously suck. Oh, there we got to see Galadriel riding into battle. Oh my goodness. Everyone will see that, because that's something that... Are they going to show the Black Queen of the Dwarves? The one without the beard? Do that? Nope. Wow. What a lackadaisical trailer. What a completely lackadaisical, uninteresting trailer. Let's see if there's anything else. Nope. Okay. So, let me just get this out of the way. This was a trailer that had nothing in it apart from, look at the diversity! Look at the diversity and representation that we have! Oh, look at the diversity! That's what it was. That was all the trailer was. That's the most agitating thing to me. I would prefer that you would show a trailer. You could put in all the diversity and all you want in there, but if you actually have a trailer that depicts the awesomeness and the scale of what it is that we're about to watch, right? If you were to do that, then great. But no, they don't even do that. They just throw in diversity for diversity's sake. They don't tell you what the story is in this trailer. They show you very little. They show someone climbing up an ice wall for no reason. They show some landscape for no reason. They have some overview. Then they have the dramatic music, because we want everyone to think this is an amazing thing. Oh my goodness, let's think that this is incredible. This is absolutely amazing. Blah 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 blah. That's what they want you to think, because the music's telling you it's great. So that must mean that it's great. But if you actually look at the trailer and dissect it and think about it, there's nothing in this trailer. It's literally just, look at the female character, look at the female hobbit, look at the black elf, look at the female queen riding into battle on the front lines. Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's all this trailer has for you. It's just, look at the diversity. Look at the diversity that we're showing you. That's all it is. It's so stupid. It really is. Show us something about the actual story. Unless you're too ashamed because you realize that the story you're making is incredibly woke, goes against everything that Tolkien writes, and makes mockeries of the characters that every fan of The Lord of the Rings loves. I'm betting that the reason why they didn't show anything about the story and the reason why they're hiding behind this stupid promotional video is because the show is going to suck. Because they're taking things out of context, or taking things that don't actually happen in the story, or that never could because of continuity, and they're changing it, and they don't want fans to realize that they're about to ruin one of the greatest pieces of media ever created in modern history. Written by a Catholic. Okay, so all this diversity, all this representation, all this social justice warriorism that I believe they're going to inject into this stuff, it goes against what Tolkien believed. It's a mockery of his stuff. It's a mockery of his creation. Part of the reason why the Lord of the Rings movies were great was not because of the big budget, or because of the big battles, or because of this, or because of that. It wasn't because, oh, look at the diversity between the humans and the elves and the dwarves. It's not because of that. It's because it was faithful to the creation that Tolkien made. It was faithful to the story that Tolkien created when he wrote Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings is supposed to be a fictional mythology for England, because all the stuff that was a part of England's mythology was destroyed during wars, during the Dark Ages. All the stuff that could have been part of mythology for England was lost to time. So Tolkien made this as an attempt to make a mythology for England. It was made as an attempt to make not only a good story, but a mythology that could be believed. And this just looks like a fan fiction. This just looks like it's going to be some stupid generic fantasy series that's going to suck. It looks like it's going to be another stupid Game of Thrones, a show that I couldn't get into even if I tried. A show that I took a couple of looks at from clips and I realized, this is going to suck. And looky. Turns out I was right. Everyone hates it now because of the fact that that 8th season or whatever it was, whatever season the show ended on, was terrible. Never watched the show, but I could tell from what was in there, in the clips that I saw, that it was going to suck. That everyone was eventually going to hate it. Because it was just generic fantasy that was trying to be something more that wasn't able to do so. That's all it was, and they relied on gore and sex and violence to get you there. But that's not what people care about when it comes to good fantasy. Take a look at Tolkien's work. Never was there a sex scene. Never was there nudity. Never was there this moment where you thought, ooh, these two characters are going to get it on, yeah. No, it was just about good versus evil. Men, elves, dwarves, fighting, joining forces against the evils of the orcs and Sauron. Wizards even fighting alongside humanity and the elf race and the dwarf race. An entire army of people, men, who put their lives on the line for what is right and what is true. They go out there, they fight to the death, they fight their hardest, and in the end, just barely they come out on top. It shows struggle and pain and suffering and heroism. It's everything that people want in a good story. That's why it's successful. Not because of diversity and representation, not because of political ideologies, but because it focused first and foremost on being good. And that is why it's successful. This right here, all the leaks, I'll make more videos on it, I will, I promise. But all the leaks are pointing to is that this is going to be a diversity and representation clip art studio mockery of Lord of the Rings. That's all this looks like it's going to be. And I'm sick and tired of seeing good properties be torn down. And you know the only reason why they're doing that with this right here, Lord of the Rings, is because it's got the notoriety it does. Because it's popular, because it's famous. They're taking something that already has proven the test of time and already has tons of merit within the fandom, and they're ruining it explicitly because of the fandom that it has. When fans don't want this, fans don't care for this garbage. Fans don't care for the diversity and representation. They just want a good story. So instead of focusing all your marketing attention on diversity and representation, why don't you focus on making a good story? Focus on that, okay? And I'll do more videos on this stuff. I'll talk about how Galadriel is going to be some warrior queen, which she never was, and how they're going to take the female dwarves and they're going to disobey and disillude themselves of one of the most pertinent pieces of information about the female dwarves, and that is that female dwarves and male dwarves have beards, okay? They're born with them. But I'm not going to get too into the depths here. This video is already long enough. I've already yelled at you guys long enough, or ranted to you. That's the whole point of the Rancid series, of course. I don't want to keep ranting on and on and on and on and just keep going. So I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys laughed at some of my ranting. I hope you guys find this as annoying as I do. And if you do, make sure to like down below. Make sure to comment and subscribe. It only takes a few moments of your time, but it means a lot to me. It really does. And I know it doesn't seem like I have a lot of viewers, but even if 30 people came in and listened to me rant and actually agree with me on this, in the meantime, it would mean a lot if it was in person. So the fact that there are people out there all around the world who are actually liking this stuff, it really does touch my heart. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope that you guys are willing to stick with me thick and thin through this all, okay? That being said, the video's been long enough. This has been Adam with Rancid and Sweaty Calves. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.